So I know you work with clients of all different sizes of businesses, from really small up to huge corporate clients. So what has kind of been your advice out of the gate on starting that conversation with a customer and how to re-engage them?
Well, I think one of the first things that's important, Allison, is that people understand what has happened. And like you said, you asked that question, what has happened? Let me give you a couple of things that I've been talking to people about. There's some new segments of behaviors that are showing up. And so
Mhm.
people need to understand. I think that everything that I've read says that if we think that everything's going to go back to the way it was, then we're probably going to be disappointed or find that it's not. And so one of those things is that there's some new segments of consumer behavior that people do need to understand. Um, those segments are really revolve around people saving and stockpiling their money,
Mhm.
or people cutting very deep into their spending. Some people are staying calm and just carrying on, and then others are hibernating in their house and spending more. But what we're expected to see is that people will move to five new segments. The first one is that there will be people who will remain frugal. The second segment is that they will be cautiously extravagant in their spending. The third segment is that they're expecting people to come back with a bang. The
Mhm.
fourth segment would be people just going back to normal. And the fifth segment would be people who keep cutting. So, you could say, well, isn't that how everything has been before? Probably. But I think here's the thing that people need to understand when they look at re-engaging. You have to assume some things are going to happen. Some of those behaviors that we've seen some firsts. The amount of people who are the first time that they've ever shopped online is like 30% of the people shopping online are firsts. They haven't shopped online before. And for a lot of us, like maybe you and me, that's almost impossible to think about. Is like, what do you mean somebody has not shopped online before? But there's, as of now, over the last 6 weeks, 30% of the online shopping that's been happening has been happening by people who have never shopped online before. They expect that we're going to see that continue on. And so some of these behaviors around shopping, around pausing or delaying spending, around buying online, many of these changes will become permanent. So here's a few things that I've been telling people they need to understand. The first one is that as we go back into the economy, you have to assume that people's mindsets have shifted. One of the things that you cannot depend upon necessarily is the loyalty of the customers before, and
Mhm.
what you would expect in loyal customers. As much as we would like to, because everything has been turned upside down so much, people are really reassessing how they spend money, if they spend money. So now you have to assume that you're a commodity, and that means that you've got to go at your business a little bit different. You can potentially make your brand come out of this stronger than it went in, but there's a few things that need to happen. And one of them is that you need to increase your communication. We've got a, a, a lot of businesses were completely
Mhm.
offline for several weeks. And so out of mind equals a hard time getting back into people's minds. So you got to up your communication, and communicate more than what you would have before. What we're also talking to a lot of our clients about is rethinking how they serve customers. So for example, we have a client who is here in town, and is actually throughout all of Montana, that a lot of people are very familiar with, very used to seeing on a daily basis. They have shifted from being a place where people come in and sit down and enjoy their beverages, to a place where they can do online, put their order in online in a really great, easy app, and can have it picked up or delivered. Something that would be like a big chain of a restaurant or a food shop would do. And so you need to rethink how you're going to serve your customers, because these habits are of how we're doing things, and the caution around it. Even if people do eventually go back to normal, just the caution that we're seeing may cause people to take a lot of pause before they re-engage. So if you were used to having people come into your store, your shop, or your restaurant, they may not do that, at least for a while. So how are you going to stay open? How are you going to stay alive if they're not doing that? So that's rethinking how you serve them. And that also includes stepping up and doing things that you normally wouldn't do. Customers are going to notice these things, and those actions won't go unnoticed. So primarily changing how you communicate, rethinking how you serve your customers, and the third one is take actions that you didn't do before. I can get very specific about some of those ways that I think that you need to look at serving your customers and communicating, but those are the three things that we're recommending people really look at if we could kind of put them into buckets.